So, Steve, tell me about it. What an electrician from Glasgow end up owning an employee wellness business in the Gold Coast? That's a big spin, isn't it?
Mate, it's honestly that question, it always blows my mind. I got asked this question a couple of months ago in a podcast, and when you never really piece something together because it's just your life, and then they said that, and I was like, geez, it's a pretty cool question. So back in Scotland, I used to play professional football, soccer, and then so that was from when I was 16 until I was about 19. And then at the end of the season, I was going to ask for more money, and the club released me. So that was my first big kick in the teeth. It was like, right, what do we do here? So that's like 19, your first big setback in life, because that was like my plan. And then it was kind of like, right, what do we do here? Because at that time, at that level, so I was in the Scottish, it was the first division at the time. It's now the Championship. So you have the Premiership, first division, second, third, and then everything else. And so I was kind of like, well, do you just keep pushing through with this and then see what happens, or do you see what else is out there? And at that time, someone else offered me an opportunity to go start my apprenticeship as an electrician. And so then I thought, right, okay, well, I'll do that, and then I'll play football part-time. And my family were always quite safe, it was like, get a trade. My dad was a builder, so get the trade, at least then you can always fall back on it.
You're guaranteed, right?
Exactly. And football is like really risky, because I mean, everyone thinks it's like, everyone knows like it's 1% of people really make it. You've got other players who, they could be making maybe a couple of grand a week, but then after their career, they've not really got anything, and they're not at a good level where they can actually do anything with their status. So I became an electrician, done my apprenticeship, and then after my apprenticeship, my goal was to go out and start working for myself. And then I got offered a job in the office doing electrical estimating. And so I was pricing all the work for the company. And I used to work with this guy, and he was like your typical high performer. So this was like a corporate office where the company was massive. It had about 2,000 employees.
Mm-hmm.
And in this corporate office, it was a big open plan, so you went in and everyone's just a number essentially. And I worked with this guy, and I remember him saying to me once, he's like, you're expected to work hard in here and win the work, because if we don't win the work as estimators, no one else has a job. So he used to come in early, he used to finish late, and he used to work weekends. And one day he had a stroke in the middle of the office. Like in the middle of the office. And so everyone's like running around, like, what do you do? Try to get him, phone the ambulance came, got him. And at that point, like, I didn't really think much of it, so you just get on with work after that. And then he was off work for the next 2 years. And when he came back, he just wasn't the same. But in that period, I came into the office one day. I remember just walking in and just going, is this it? Like, I think a lot of people do say this, and they think like, is this everything that I'm going to be doing? Like, this company, huge company, it was a job for life, it was safe. But everyone who was there had been there like 10, 15, some even like 20 years. And I was like, nah, I need to go and travel. I need to go and my cousin was in Australia.
Yeah.
And my cousin was in Australia. And so I was like, right, I'm going to go out to Australia. I spoke to my boss at the time, and I said, hey, I want to go to Australia and travel. Can I get a career break? And he said, yeah, I'll give you 3 months. Anyway, he got sacked, and then the new boss came in, and I said, hey, I was meant to get a career break. The previous guy gave me 6 months, and he went, yep, sweet. so I get an extra. I got an extra 3 months. And then, so I came out to Australia, and then I got to 6 months, and I was like, hey guys, I need another 6 months. I've not finished yet. And they're like, right, okay. And it got to like 9 months in, and I was like, guys, I'm not coming home. Like, I love it out here. This is where I want to live. And at that point, I was kind of dotting around jobs. So I had like a sales job and a travel agent. We done farm work. Like, so I was seeing all these types of different industries and
So
seeing like what.
were you doing the working holiday visa?
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
But in my head, and I was throughout that time. So that was like maybe like probably an 18-month period where I was actually just testing different industries to see like what do I want to do. So people would say like try recruitment or try the holiday travel sales, and I was really bad at sales at that point, and I just could not sell a holiday, believe it or not. So I quit that one, and then I didn't like the farm stuff, and then so I really like kind of dissected what I want to do, and I was like, right, okay, like I love health and fitness. I'm going to be a PT, so I've done my course, started being a PT,
So,
and I was
sorry, just a second there. So you came over, you did your farm work, you travel a lot, you did different jobs just to get some money for the partying and traveling, but you did not go as an electrician. You did not go as a trade.
I did that sometimes, yeah. So I just bought some
Okay.
basic tools, and
Yeah.
then out in Australia, because it was so easy to do. You know, I would phone up an agency and I would say, hey, I'm an electrician in Scotland, in the UK. Have you got any work? And then they would, next day,
Straight
you'd
away.
have work. Boom,
Yeah.
you'd have work. And it was pretty good money, you know. So like you would just go, and then I could get money and then go and travel again.
Yes.
And even when I was doing my certificates to become a personal trainer, I was still working as an electrician during the day, and then I was going home at night and weekends and finishing my course online. And so then it was like, Ricky, now I want this lifestyle job, you know, I want to go something that really I value. So I've done that, kind of filled up the books for the personal training, started online coaching so that I could service more people. And then COVID happened, and so we were all set up for online. And then COVID happened, so we were pumping, flying, getting loads of business. It was good times actually. And then our clients were mostly corporates at that point, and they started asking us to do workshops for their company. And so we would go
Like
in
to get people on their company feet.
because COVID, everyone started really valuing wellness. You know, it was
Yeah.
like the first one was like, can you just come and keep them engaged while we're online? So we want to do these like kind of lunch and learn sessions, and then from that it was more like, how do we get people back in the office? We want to get everyone back in and show them that we care. And at the point we were just like putting stuff together, like goal setting and stress management, and like they were asking, and we were just making them and delivering them. And then I kind of started noticing like these guys they're missing a big piece of the puzzle. You know, like they're looking at employee well-being and it's just rewards, you know, but that's not going to stop their sick days. That's not going to stop them getting like that's not going to improve their performance, you know, like. And when I think of performance, I always think from like my background as an athlete, and then also like what I knew from being in the fitness industry. And
Yeah.
so then we would take a total different spin on it. Like, what are some stuff that you can do today to improve your productivity, improve your focus, and help you become a better version of what you currently are? And so that we were doing the online coaching, and then we had the kind of one-off workshops that we were doing. And then in 2022, we kind of rebranded the business. And then we fully dropped the online coaching in 23, and then really focused on employee wellness from then on.
Very important subject, isn't it? I was talking to Jody last week about it, and it's people should care more about their employees and how they're feeling at work and their mental health especially, isn't it?
100%. You know, like I can't see, especially in the future. Like if you're not starting now, you're just going to be left behind because companies and people value it. You know, there's a new generation of employees coming through, let's say like 16, 17, 18-year-olds who just value this stuff so much more. You know, so if you look in the next 5 to 10 years, like if you're not keeping up with it, if you are the type of person who is like, this is the way it's always been done, and like, I don't care about employee wellness, you're here to do a job, you're just not going to get employees coming through. You're not going to get the buy-in from the younger generation.
Yeah, you're gonna struggle to find people. And what
100%.
you think that is the biggest difficulty that business have to acknowledge that and to see that the necessity of having a well-being program?
Well, I think it starts from the leadership team. You know, if they don't value it, if they've got like it's funny because in one of our workshops around mindset, everyone's heard about fixed mindsets versus growth mindsets.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think, and you chat to any high performer, like you chat to anyone who's in the corporate industry, and they've all got a growth mindset. Oh, but I disagree because I think people have different mindsets in different situations.
Mm.
So you can very much have a growth mindset in your work life, but a very fixed mindset when it comes to other aspects of life. And so I think that's one of those areas where people can be really fixed on this is the way it's got to be. You know, this is the way it's got to be done. It's always been done this way, even though they've got a growth mindset in other areas of that profession. And I think it starts with the leadership team getting buy-in and thinking outside of the box, like not just thinking that wellness is a nice to have, you know, because I think that's like a lot of what people think. Yeah, that's just a nice to have. It's like, well, if you think about that guy who I worked with who had a stroke in the middle of the office, like he's a high performer. He was bringing in millions of dollars or pounds every year. You know, he's working so hard, and then all of a sudden, he is off for 2 years.
Wow, big loss for the company, right?
Massive loss.
Yes, not even talk about the personal well-being, but big loss for the company. Probably if the company would have thought about looking after the staff better, that wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? And so it might not happen now, but something is going to happen. You know, is it like whose responsibility is that? Is that guy Gordon's responsibility because he didn't look after himself? Or is it the company's responsibility because they didn't give him the resources that he needed to look after himself, or work-life balance? Like, did he need to start early and work late? Did he need to come in at the weekends? You know, was there better leadership or man management that could have said, hey, take some time off. Like, we don't need you at the weekends, or we're not allowing you to come in at the weekends because we want you to go and do something that's good for you. Like, whose fault is that? I mean, it's probably a combination of them all. But I know, like, if I was a leader, I would probably think, well, could I have done more? Should I have told him to stay at home and chilled out at the weekend and go and spend time with his family? You know, instead of this.
Definitely, you think that, right? If you care about your employees and the people who work for you, you definitely would care. If that has happened with one of my employees, I would feel guilty for the rest of my life as a big oversight.
Exactly. So why even risk it? Do you know what I mean? Why risk the potential of one of your employees having a stroke or a heart attack or a mental breakdown in work or outside of work because of what's happening in work? Why would you not invest a small amount of your revenue into having a well-being program or something that could give the tools and the strategies that your employees can benefit from?
It's a big investment on return as well, because I think you'd get a bigger return than what you invest in, because reality is the moment an employee has a very good well-being, he's going to become a higher performance if you give them the tools, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so there's some data, research came out. I think Beyond Blue have done some, where for every $1 invested, it's a $5.60 return.
Wow, that's
It's
big.
huge. Yeah, and so can you imagine you could 5x your returns? Like if you put
Yeah,
in 10 grand, you're going to get 50 grand. You know, it's
it's a
pretty nice.
no-brainer, right? You just keep investing.
And so we've got there's some other data from Beyond Blue, and it's around this thing called presenteeism. And presenteeism is the stuff that your employees are bringing to work that I would say it's probably not your fault, but
Mm,
it's going to affect your bottom line. And so presenteeism is mental health, it's like relationship issues, it's financial pressures, all of this outside work, which is causing your employee not to be present in the moment. So presenteeism. And so they can't focus, they can't do their job properly, they're thinking about other things. And yeah, companies are losing out. And so I think the data for a salary of about 90,000 per year, it costs companies about $13,000 per employee.
wow.
13,000. You know, and if you tie that in with healthcare costs and sick days, it's around $18,000 to $19,000 per employee per year. It's huge.
It's massive, isn't it? And probably an investment for a well-being trainers is like half of that, probably, when you think
And so
about it.
what I say to companies is I say, look, you're never going to solve all of that with a well-being program. You know, you're never going to get like 20 grand per employee per year. But imagine you could get 20% return. You know, let's be very modest. You know, so let's say you get 4 grand per employee per year. You know, you've got 100 employees. Like, it's a significant amount of money, you know,
It
on your
is,
bottom line.
correct. And let me ask a different question because you mentioned about the culture and the people on the top deciding how things should be done. And you mentioned like, oh, we're always done this way. And then remind me about a place that I worked that like I wanted to bring new technologies to the business. It was a bank, and the bank is very conservative. And managers are, that's how we always done. That's how we're gonna do it. You know, it's a safe way. But eventually, I managed to change his mind and try new things, and then he saw it was good. So, how do you change business minds? Yeah, on to do a training and invest on that. What's the approach that you use?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at it. I don't know if maybe everyone knows Elon Musk, you know, um,
I'm a big fan
and
of the guy.
yeah, and even Google. I'm a big fan as well of like what he does and his mindset, and
Yeah,
and his full thing, and Google as well. And these massive companies who are making billions a year. Well, I think he just get valued at what over $1 trillion. Um, and it's always test and fail fast. You know, so if you go back to like imagine you're trying to implement a new technology, like if is there a way that you can do it that's risk free? You know, you might lose a bit of capital, a bit of revenue,
yeah,
but if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and you just revert back to the other thing. And it ties into the Einstein theory of the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different
expect
results.
different result.
You know, and what one of the things that we see is we work a lot with HR. So HR, people and culture, like that's the people we are aiming to help. And so they've got a huge job with day to day. You know, they'll get people coming in, chatting to them, complaining, everything in their work life. And then they've also get tasked with running a well-being program or a well-being committee or whoever it is. And they've all got other jobs. And so when their jobs get busy, well-being just gets left out, you know, because there's everyone's got a certain capacity that they can deal with or work with, you know. So if it hits 5 p.m. and the wellness stuff isn't done, then well, maybe I'll try and get to it tomorrow.
True.
You
You
know,
say that, and I'm thinking here about culture. One of the companies I work in Australia, and in fact, one of the best companies I've worked for, they hired the ex head of culture of Google to work for them. And the guy was amazing, and even the business owner, he was an amazing guy as well. But in the team, everybody was high performance. Every single one of people, like there's no leave it that for tomorrow. Like everybody was invested in the business as if were their own business. And there's not I need to take morning off because I need to go to the doctor. It's like just go. It's not clock in, clock out, but in reality, you just deliver way more because you're invested in the company. You see that they care about you, so you care about them.
100%. And like I was chatting to Layla from High Smile. I don't know if you know High Smile, but huge company, fast growth company, and they've got the same culture. Like the employees feel valued. They run cool events for them, workshops, extra training. Like, what do you guys want? We'll help you deliver. And I think that's when employees really feel valued, is when they're getting the training and the resources that they need just to succeed in all areas of their life. We ran out some communication and conflict resolution training for a dentist. And
you never think you would need, right?
Exactly. But if you think about communication, we're always communicating to clients and customers, and so if we can, and each other, so one of the problems that they had was the dental assistants were getting frustrated with the way the dentists were talking to them. But if you've been a dentist before, like they just order each other around, but it's just to get the work done. It's like, go and get me the scalpel, or go and get me it's not polite, but it's not.
That is the job.
It's the job. But then what we done, once we ran the communication training, we ran the personality types and helped them understand each other's personality type, and then the way that they like being communicated. Then everyone was like, boom, mind blown.
You mean the personality test, the one that colors you, like yellow, blue, red?
Yeah, like
I forgot the name. Yeah.
DISC. Yeah.
DISC. Yeah.
DISC. So you've got your DISC, SC, and so when you ran.
And I want to ask something else. Sorry. So you're saying you did that for a dentist practice. How do you change between business? How do you make your program suit to different business and cultures?
Well, so great question. So we go in and we see what they're already doing. Like our thing is, how do we enhance what you're currently doing? We're not going to come and take it over. So we want to see, number one, what are you currently doing, if anything? And then what are you looking to achieve? So have you noticed something within the company that you want to be better? Is it a culture issue? Is it employee retention? Is it you're just looking to have a high performing team? So from there, then we break down like the programs. So let's say, for example, you're looking for employee retention, and let's say you've tied in, you want a bit of mental health and well-being. So if we're looking at employee retention, we think people don't leave bad companies, they leave bad leaders. So let's get some leadership.
100%.
100%. So we get leadership training, we get culture, leadership and culture, communication, maybe conflict resolution. And then from there, we say, right, okay, if you're looking at mental health and well-being, how do we tackle that? And so we think mental health is multifaceted. So it's not just one thing that affects mental health, it's a combination of things. And if you only focus in one area, there's going to be a percentage of your employees who just don't get the buy-in for that, because mental health, you might be struggling mentally because of like family issues. It could be like a relationship. It could be finances. It could be stress. It could just be your mindset. You don't know how to come out the funk. And so what we do is we then put all of those things into the program throughout the year. Okay, so now we've got our leadership covered, we've got employee retention covered, because now we're going to have better leaders. And then we're going to be able to target all of mental health and well-being, because it's not just one area. We've got financial wellness, which I find when a lot of companies do this, they get their superannuation company to come out and they say, we're going to teach you about superannuation. And then the employees who are like 21 years old go, I do not care about superannuation.
They probably have 20K on the super, right?
They don't care,
Have
do they?
no vision for long term.
No, like, and fair enough, they're 21. Even I remember when I was 21 and
I
a guy I used to work with was like, you should be looking at this. And I was like,
didn't care either.
I'm waiting for the weekend and I'm going to spend all my money.
Can I get that money and spend today?
Exactly. And so what we don't do that. We teach them how to budget, like basic budgeting, how to get out of bad debt. What does bad debt look like? What does good debt look like? How to save for your first $1,000, 10,000 for your
So
home.
that's all part of your program.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so again, I always say to people, like, if you're only getting one part of something, you're not servicing the rest of the company. So what I mean by that is, if you only focus on superannuation, you've got maybe people who are maybe 35, maybe probably 40 plus, who are starting to think about it properly, unless they're like they've thought about it before. But from 20 or 18 to 35, they're just not interested. So how do we get them bought into it? And it's the same with every program. The goal of the program isn't to engage 100% of the employees with one workshop. It's to engage 100% of the employees throughout the year with various workshops.
It's a continuous improvement.
It continues. It's like that Japanese Kaizen. It's how do we become 1% better?
1% better.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And how do you measure that? How do you can say, yeah, Stephen came here, well, wellness applied to our business? How you measure that the investment that the business are doing and actually benefiting the company and the employee?
So we do regular reviews. So each quarter, so we start off before, and then each quarter we do a quarterly review, and that ties into a couple of different things. Number one, we want to make sure the program's working, but the second one, because at the start it might not be, you might find that you've just missed the mark a little bit, because at the start we sit down with the leadership team, we sit down with people in culture, and we say, what do you guys think you need? Then we start running.
Sorry, and that's where you start. You start with the leadership team, and then you go down.
Leadership and people and culture, yeah.
Gotcha.
Because that's who we're chatting to at the start. From there, we then run out the program. First quarter, then we reassess it, and this is when we sit down with the employees. So we send out surveys to the employees, and then we go on the floor and chat to them as well. Say, Cristiano, how are you finding this? What would you like to see more of, less of? And is there anything that we're missing? And you get really good feedback when you sit down with a couple of employees for a coffee or a quick chat, because they just give you everything that they want. And then we go back to the leadership team. We say, hey guys, like, this is what we're hearing on the floor. Let's change this up. This is what I'd recommend we do from now on. And because we take fast action on it, the employees are more willing to give you feedback as time goes on. The worst thing that you can do is send out a survey or ask for feedback and do absolutely nothing about it.
Nothing about it. True.
It's the easiest way to lose trust.
And how do you use technology to make that happen? How you involve technology? I'm a tech guy. I love everything about technology.
So we've got an app. So we put everything on our app.
Wow, you built your own app.
Yeah, so I've got on our app, we call it the Wellbeing Hub, and everything in there is well-being. So you can go in. Some of what we do with clients is run health checks, and so you can record your weight, your blood pressure, your heart rate. Your smartwatches can connect to it.
Wow.
And so then from there you can see all the graphs on how your health. This is employees individually. So the company doesn't see this, it's all confidential. But the employee can go in and start tracking their stats. There's meal plans, there's exercise programs, there's a bunch of resources that we give for our education. We've got self-paced education on there as well.
I think as how you put a health exercise like workouts and things like that on that.
Yeah, yoga, Pilates, stretching routines, those gym workouts, at-home workouts. Yeah, so
Good.
there's just stuff for everyone. So the idea is that again, employee wellness is it's got to include some sort of physical movement. You know, if you're going to be well, you've got to move. Like that helps clear the brain. It's good for overall health, focus, productivity, brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
We give every employee meal plans that they can follow, so they can go on when they sign up to the app or sign on to the app. They fill in a quick health questionnaire, and from that, then they get a customized meal plan. And yeah, so we just kind of incorporate all of that into our platform.
Pretty good. And how about a small business? Like I'm a small business owner. Everything I see, I'd like to do a lot of things for my employees, but reality is everything is a number. Is there a cost associated? Can I do it now? Can I do down the road? And how can small business like me, small and mid-sized business like me, benefit from your program? And how can we engage with that?
Yeah, so that kind of ties in to a common question that we get is, have you worked in our industry? And I say, have you guys got humans? And it's, yeah, if you've got a human, then we can help you. You know, humans are...
It's every business for now, anyway.
Yeah, for now, I know it's changing. But again, it's like we're never going to, humans are never going to stop. You know, there's always a human element that's beneficial for if it's human to human, if you're doing sales, if you're doing IT, like, you know how you get on the phone and it's like, would you like to speak to an operator? I don't know about you, but I'm always like, yes.
Yes.
I want to speak to a human. I don't want to speak
I hate
to a robot.
machines.
Hate it. So if you've got humans, then yeah, we can help you. And the thing is that you might just we might tailor it to suit your budget as well. Because I mean, the thing for small businesses is, you know, when you deal with big businesses, like 10 grand is pocket change. You know, to a small business, 10 grand's a lot of money. You know, so but then again, it's where are you guys at, and how can we help you guys get the resources that you need for your employees, and make it applicable for what you're looking to do. Like maybe, again, with small businesses, it might be a case of starting smaller, and as you grow, we grow with you.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got one of our clients, they started off, how good's this actually? So they started off this year with 30 employees. And going into 2025, they've now got 80 to 100 plus employees starting next year. And one of the features that they always talk about is the well-being program. And that's how they drive and get the acquisition on board with what they're doing. And so it's all about how can you position yourself to become the employer of choice when you are growing.
And since COVID, I noticed a lot of more business are trying to do wellness programs and trying to engage with staff. But I've seen as well that a lot of people don't even use. Like I work on a previous company, we had free subscription for, I think was Headspace or one of those meditation apps that help you go through day to day. But most people didn't even engage. So for a business that's trying to engage with people and struggling, what advice would you give?
Yeah, so our competitors all do some similar. They all do this, right? So what they do is you get the program and it just sits there. Like, so you pay, and they're usually, I would say, relatively cheap for what they are. But it ticks a box. You know, if the company's got a health and safety policy that they've got to cover, especially with this psychosocial hazards legislation that's come out, a lot of the companies are just like, right, okay, tick that box. We've got the Headspace app in there. That'll do in case we get audited. You know, what we say is you need some sort of live engagement. You know, if you're going to make this work, there needs to be something that people can tune into. You know, we have a self-paced online learning, like the same as every other like EAP and company would do. We've got that. It is easily the least engaged, even though we try. We send out push notifications and messages. People just don't always tune into it because it's just a resource hub. And that's why we price that the very cheapest. If you want to level up the engagement, you can have spotlight features, we call it. And so each month you have a spotlight where we're going to chat about a different topic, and it's going to be a live presentation.
Nice. So people have to sit on it and do it.
Yeah, and they can engage in it, you know?
Yes.
I don't know about you, when I'm doing self-paced stuff, I get distracted so quick, you know? Oh, Ricky, I better go and do that. Or, oh, I'll watch this later. Whereas if you've got 30, 45 minutes just to tune in, and then a Q&A where you can ask questions and engage, you get so much more out of it. And then another thing that we do is we do engagement challenges. And so the idea is that after the workshop, people leave feeling pretty motivated. You know, they're ready to take action. They want to change something that they've just learned. But then work and life gets in the way and they don't really get round to it.
Happens a lot.
Yeah. All the time. So what we do is we run our engagement or our monthly habit focus, which is after the workshop, we are going to take this and implement it into a challenge. So for the next 14 days, your job is to do X, Y, Z. And then the winner, we set them up on our platform. There's a leaderboard, and the winner is going to win a prize. You know, so send them out for dinner or whatever it is for that prize. And what that does, it takes the learnings from the workshop or the training, puts it into practice, and then people have now got the habit. You know, they've now implemented the learnings from the workshop, and it's created more engagement in the workplace because now they're all talking about it. You know, they're all asking people, how are you getting on with this? Or how are you getting on with that?
It's engagement, isn't it? If you're engaged there, like you said, if you're doing a lunch and learn or a monthly engagement of wellness, and then people are always in there and digging more, because if you just go there and see a wonderful speech or a wonderful technique to get better, you end up forgetting because life just happens, you know.
Life gets, you know, it's really hard to, like, everyone's tried to start a new fitness routine or start to eat healthy or eat more vegetables.
I'm guilty of, like, I'm working out every night. I've lost weight. I'm doing better. But then my missus had to go away for work, so I had to be with my baby girl and change my routine and things like that. And then turns out I didn't work since last Thursday until today. I didn't do a workout.
Yeah.
And something I've been doing every day. And man, if I tell you the amount of times that these things happen, and you stop, but you cannot let that stop you. You have to say, oh, that's my goal, and I'm going to go back to it. So then this morning I woke up, I did a workout already, you know, did my meditation, and, you know, let's get a week.
Let's get it. And so can you imagine you've got a community of people all doing the same, and you see Natalia posted that she's just done a workout.
Get you pumped, right?
Do you think, are you going to stay in bed? Probably not. You're probably going to get up and you're going to do a workout. You're going to get up and you're going to try and do your habit that you've been focusing on. And that's the beauty of creating the community and the engagement piece. Because, people just jump on board, and our clients are, again, humans are competitive. You know, if you give someone a challenge, if you give someone a challenge that is doable and they feel they can do it, they're going to go after it. And we're running a couple of challenges for our clients at the moment. And I mean, if I said to you the engagement and the competitiveness, it's all friendly. And we do egg it on a little bit. Like we egg it on. We say
that's nice. That's a differential, right? That's what makes you work so well. Like, I've seen a lot of people giving testimonials about our work, and just blow my mind how happy they are with what you're doing. Like, I can't wait after this to have a chat with you, see how I can implement this on a small business.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's always exciting.
Yeah, let me ask a different question. Are you working in any exciting new projects on the wellness area in Australia at the moment? Do you do anything that's a game changer or something you're really excited?
Yeah, we are. But I don't know if I want to share it yet because it's not fully complete and I don't want anyone else to take it.
Can you give us a little hint or something like that?
Um, yeah, AI is going to be involved.
I like it.
Yeah, so really, I mean, I'm trying to get ahead of the curve with AI. I think at the moment a lot. I don't know. I feel like AI is like it's like the new internet. You know, when people at the start, there's like the bell curve. People at the start skeptical, don't think it's going to work. But I think there's some real opportunities where if you can get ahead with it and you can really
Yeah,
utilize it, yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah, it's going to pay dividends
We,
for number one. It's going to for us. It's going to increase time to conversation. Let's say that. That's keeping it quite vague. So it increases the response time for one of our services. But then also it gives people like access to do um, some pretty cool things in terms of their own well-being. So if they're ever out and about and they're in doubt and it's like, oh, this is what I've got available. How can I make this work? It's going to help them with that.
very
Um,
good. I like it. Can't wait to see it. Let's not talk more about it so we don't give the idea away. Yeah.
I know it's like that, isn't it? It's like I really
Yeah.
want to share it, but also we've not developed it enough yet. So I know some bigger business could
Yeah,
come
but
in
I,
and
I agree 100% what you said. AI is out there. Like I'm going at least probably every week or at least every 2 weeks to an AI event from a
mm,
different vendor, a different AI or a different person, a different company. And it's crazy. It's here to stay. And some people didn't realize that. There's a lot
mm,
of concerns around how that's gonna come and the cybersecurity aspects of as well. It's very important. Like you cannot put personal data out there because that's gonna be leaked. It's public. But one thing for sure, if you don't embrace on your business and for your own life, you're gonna be left behind. And I think the people that are gonna succeed in the next 10 years gonna be the early adopters of AI, people that really know how to use to their benefit.
yeah,
And you have to be implementing that in business.
for sure. I think, as you said, it's not going anywhere, and I think it will get regulated to a point. I think as soon as it, I don't know if there's because I mean it's everywhere. Like I'm really skeptical about everything I see on social media now because I'm like, is that AI? You know, it's
Have you,
so good.
I'm gonna say something else to you. Have you heard about the dead internet theory?
Nah.
So the dead internet theory is that the internet is dead. That I think I'm just gonna throw numbers there, but don't quote me on it. Say something like 70% of the content that's created on the internet is done by bots, by AI.
Ah.
Like it's super high. So you see less and less interactions like me and you talking about business, talking about people. Everything you read pretty much is written by an AI, automatic without human interaction sometimes.
Well, it makes sense, you know, because it's a lot easier if you could have an AI or a bot doing something 24/7 as opposed to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You know,
Yeah.
it's and
Like
it's much.
yeah, for our business, we write a lot of technical articles and things like that. And
Mm,
we could very much go there to AI and say, hey, write an article about backups, what they need of backups. But we don't do that because it comes to robotics. So what we do is we write the article from a technical perspective, and then we plug that in AI and say, hey, can you help us translate this to a more friendly usage
yeah,
version
yeah.
for someone that is not so technical? That's how we use AI. And then he goes and puts some spin and we look at, yeah, that looks good. And then we do the articles and even documentation for our customers sometimes because we think too technical sometimes.
It's that's I use that as well. I use it for a lot of things like emails as well. When you know, sometimes like things get lost in translation, and so
Yes.
I'll write out an email and then I'll just put it through AI and say, can you polish this up and make it sound friendly and empathetic? You know, and then
Yeah.
you read it back and you go, oh, that actually sounds really friendly and empathetic.
I I know what you're saying,
Opposed,
especially for foreigners. Like I'm not a native speaker, So my English
Yeah,
is it's bad, but I also have my native language and the way we think. And there's different cultures. You change countries, and there's gazillion different cultures. So sometimes I'm too direct, or like my missus telling me I'm too friendly. Because
yeah,
Brazilians, we hug, we kiss.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're
yeah,
too friendly. And sometimes I transparent that through my writing and the way I
yeah.
speak. So then I go there, can you make this a bit more professional or a bit more friendly? And then it helps a lot.
Well, that ties into your personality type as well. So if you look at disc profiling, so I'm a D, so I'm quite dominating, but that means I'm really direct with my speech. And so if someone emails or texts me and they say, "Hi, Stephen, can you do this?" I can send a fit. Sometimes I just reply with the answer and that's it.
I
And I
can't.
have to go back and restructure the email to say, "Hi, Chris. Hope you're well." And then I put it through AI and I say, "Can you finish this off and make it sound friendly?" Because
Yeah.
my personality type is direct, you know, but that, but yours can be like influential, like so you're very social, you're very friendly, or that's like a C as well. And so this is where like I'm really fascinated on disc or personality profiling, because once you understand people's personality types, you can start communicating to that personality type. And then
Yeah.
again, that helps with your communication to clients and your staff, and then also your family and your friends.
Improves everything.
Yeah,
Let me ask another question.
go on.
And how do you manage your business and your life, your well-being? Because I know you for what now? Probably 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I met you in so many different places, and you're always there. You're always on the go, and like you always have this good vibe about you. You're always active, and you're very fit as well. So how do you manage all that? How do you balance?
Well, I think it starts with like what do you value? Like, and so for me, well-being is part of my life, like, and I need to be healthy for my mindset, for focus, and just to feel good. So every morning I'll wake up and I'll train. So I'll try and get up. Usually get up, depends what we've got on, like if we've got stuff on, like last week I had a couple of early mornings, but I'll wake up at 4:30 if I need to. Because training is a must. If I don't get it done in the morning, I'm almost 90% sure I won't train at night. Just because I get home, maybe I get home late, stuff gets in the way,
I
or it gets to like 6, 7 o'clock and I talk myself out of it. Oh, it's too late, you won't sleep, blah, blah, blah. I'm the same as everyone else. So I need to get up early, train, get some good food, start the working day. And I just start, I just have a plan. I'm very big on time blocking. So, the night before, I will write out a list of tasks or things that I need to do. Usually on a Sunday, I like having a look at everything I've got to get done that week. And then due dates. So when is stuff due? When do I need to have this done by? And then
Yes.
spreading the load across the week, so that Monday's not just a hectic week, and then I just time block, like a couple hours for this, 1 hour for that, 30 minutes here. I put in lunch, I put in, because you've got to eat to be well, you've got to look after yourself to have energy. And I think breaks are healthy, like, so I put in my lunch and I put in everything has got a time slot. And then one of the things I value is time with my family. So
Mm.
like my goal is every night I stop work at latest 6 o'clock, and then
Yeah.
I'm just home and I try my very best not to look at the laptop or check emails. It's always a work in progress, as you know.
It is for sure. I
Um,
try to stop early as well in the day to spend time with my daughter before she goes to bed so I can play with her, feed, bath, and bed.
yeah,
But sometimes, like, you can stop. But I try to. That's my time with her, and that's it.
and I think that's important as well. It's you try your best, but you know, working life isn't always perfect. And so sometimes you do just need to push hard. You know, sometimes I'm working late and I'm working some weekends, but then I know that there's got to be a point in the next few weeks that I can pull back, you know. So I always try and think like it's like a seesaw, you know, you're pushing hard for a number of weeks, but then you've got to like kind of yin and yang, you've got to balance that
Yeah,
equation.
you push, and then you just glide a little bit, and then you push. Like
Exactly,
you have to
exactly.
find the balance.
You got to, you know, and everyone's different, you know, like I try and just work and focus as hard as I can throughout the day so that I'm not wasting time throughout the day.
Yes.
If you're productive throughout the day, then my goal is like I don't need to do anything at night. And I try and take weekends off as much as possible, just so that again, it's yin and yang. Like I look at that guy Gordon that had that stroke in the middle of the office, and if 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 I need to take weekends off so that I can work 2 more years, so be
Do
it.
it.
You know, like
Yes.
do it. You know, it's like I've always got this kind of thought process, and it's you know how like I even get this when I'm speeding. You know, when you speed in your car, and I go, you know, when you're running late and you're like, Ricky, I'm just going to go a little bit faster to get there, and then I have this thought and I say, well, it's going to be a lot slower if you get stopped by the police. So why don't you just slow down a little bit? You'll be a little bit late. And I
I've
think
done
this
that
can,
yesterday.
yeah,
I've done that yesterday. Exactly what you're saying. I was speeding up because I was late. I had to go to the party. We couldn't leave the house because of my baby girl. And then I started speeding up and was doing like, just speeding up a little bit than I usually go. And I said, you know what? Just let's chill. I'm gonna get there when I get there. And that's it. There's no point of being crazy about it.
yeah, and it's the same with work, you know, like in my industry, like people aren't going to die if they don't get it, you know. I always try and like I try and be honest with people when I'm working with them, and I say like if we're sending a proposal, if we're getting work together or organising a meeting, like I'll
Yeah.
look at my calendar and I'll say, hey, look, I'm probably going to be about a week with this proposal or 2 weeks with this proposal. Is that okay? You know, and then they go, yeah, that's fine. But I've allowed myself time. You know, I'm not saying I'm going to get this proposal to you this afternoon because then it puts me out. You know, like I
Just
need
put
to
you under
work late.
pressure. Yeah.
Puts you under unnecessary pressure. Whereas, and I say this to a lot of our clients as well. I say, when it comes to time management, I say try and hustle or try and haggle the time frame. Because if you can get an extra couple of days, I mean, if they're not waiting on it or they're wanting it in that time, why are you working late? And I only learned this because I've done this so many times where you push hard, you work till 10 p.m. to get a proposal together, and you send it through, and you phone them a week later, and you say, how did you get on with that proposal? And they say, I've not looked at it yet.
Happens.
It happens
Yeah.
all the time.
Look, Steve, I'm concerned about time. We're supposed to do a half an hour talk, and we're already 1 hour. So good talking to you. Like, I have one last question for you. No
Go on.
apologies for taking your time.
Nah, mate, I'm
If you
loving it. I'm
have,
enjoying it.
if you have to say about one success story of your business, one thing that you went over there, you implemented and collaborated for business, what would be what stands out from all the business you helped so far?
I'll tell you one that's just happening at the moment. So we're doing some work with Coolangatta Surf Club, and so we only started with them in August. And one of the things that they've got is like their end of year celebrations, so their annual awards. And so what we've done is they wanted to run a challenge. So we've done a workshop, and then they wanted to run an engagement challenge to get people moving more. So it was run, walk, or jog, and they've got about 100 employees, or just under. And we split them up into teams, and we had captains. And so with that, we set them up on our platform, created leaderboards, and mate, it is going off. So now they've got all their teams. They're going out for walks before work. They're going out for runs after work. They've got guys who are traveling on holiday in Brazil, going runs to get points for their team. And so over the last, this was 8 weeks we've done it for, and the last 2 weeks we've not told them who's top of the table. So previously every week we gave them an update, and then we've got their annual awards next week, and then that's when we're going to do, we've got the Employee Wellness Australia annual prize, and that's for the team who won it. And so yeah, we're going to go and present at the annual awards. But the feedback that we've got is like, they just cannot believe the engagement that this has created in the workplace. Like, number one, people are getting out and moving. Like, people, so over the 8 weeks, right, it starts off like, you've got, again, it's like the bell curve. You've got the early adopters, then you've got the people who they don't want FOMO. And even now you've got people who are like, how do I add my points for the last 8 weeks? And it's, mate, there's people of all different demographics, like ages, shapes and sizes, you know, like, and they're all getting out and moving. And so for me, it's like, we are ticking so many boxes for that club, you know, engagement, people are getting healthier, people are working as a team, so you've got that team ethic. People are actually engaging with, because what we do as well is we give them prizes each week for different tasks. And so we understand what the business are looking for. So go and grab someone who's not been out a walk, take someone who you've not spoke to and ask them 3 questions. And so now people are getting to know other team members at a deeper level than what they ever would have before. So that's just one that we've got running at the moment, and that just finished last night. And it's been a huge success for them, and the feedback's been good.
Beautiful, beautiful. And to close, Steve, what advice would you give to someone at work right now that's struggling? One thing they could do daily that would help them just get a little bit better.
One thing. Get outside for some sort of exercise. Like, go, if you can get out in a rainforest or at the beach, if you can get yourself like almost like barefoot in the ground, walking outside, running, jogging, something like that, the benefits of that for your mental health and well-being are huge. And if you can tie in, like, so that'd be one thing. If you could then tie in some sort of like breath work or like journaling would be huge. Writing down 3 things that you're grateful for, 1 thing that's going to make today great, and an affirmation, you know, do that daily. And then drink.
Could you give an example of an affirmation?
Yeah, so like there's ones that you've heard before. So I'll give you an example of what I do. So I'll sit down and I'll write 3 things that I'm grateful for. 1 person, 1 thing, and then I have a look around and just pick something. So, you know, so I'm grateful for my partner, and then I try and write why, because like, she's been with me.
Makes more meaningful.
A little bit. It goes a step further, and you can do that, like, and then why, like, why is that important, you know? But just for the sake of time, you just write 1 person and then like a little why, and then 1 something. So your dogs or something around you or something that like one that's common for me is living close to the beach or living in Australia or having the sun, and then have a look around. So you look around and you go, like, I remember one time I wrote, I looked at the vacuum and I was like, geez, I'm grateful for the vacuum. How annoying would it be without a vacuum? You know, you'd have to like beat the carpet. And I really went deep into this, and I was like, I'm grateful for the vacuum.
But it is, right? I do a similar exercise as well, and be grateful for the things, and I close my day as well reflecting of what my day was and what was the best thing of my day. And one exercise we do, myself and my partner, we ask each other what was the best part of each other's day.
Yeah, so we do that. We say, what was your peak? And then what was your pit? So the peak of the day and then the pit of the day. And then you can get like the gap and you can say, all right, okay, it actually wasn't that bad a day, was it? You know, your peak and your gap, or is it really big?
Yeah, I'm gonna adopt that one. I always look for the bright stuff, but I think it gives me more reflection if you look as well at what's the low of the day.
Yeah, because it might not be that bad, does it? When you write it down, you go, oh, I had a bad phone call.
And I was worried about it.
Yeah, that's not that bad.
No.
And then an affirmation is, I always think, like, what's something you're working on or something you're trying to become that you're not quite there yet? You know, is it like status? Is it a promotion? Like, because I always think you've got to become before you can be. You know, so like you've got in your brain, you've got to
It's here
think.
first. It's here first.
I really believe that. I really believe that, and you can write it down or you can just keep thinking about it. But like I want to become the CEO of my business, or I want to be the manager of X, Y, and Z. Like I think it could be status. It could be it could be I am stronger minded, or I give my opinion honestly. You know, like there's loads of things that people could be working on or they want to get better at that they're not quite there yet, and they just need constant reminding that. I work when I was doing online like coaching. I used to work with a lot of females, and what I noticed about females is they really beat themselves up a lot, like about stupid things. Like guys, we can, you know, I always like guys can just feel like they're amazing at something they've never done before.
True.
You know, females don't really get that. And I used to always say to them, like, you need to journal and you need to practice. Like, you are strong, like you are capable, you can do this job. And I see this with my partner Karen. Like she doubts herself a lot. And I'm like, you are actually amazing and you're really smart. Like you need to start reminding yourself of all of the stuff that you've done.
Believe on it. I think that's most important. Yeah, I tell some of my staff, because everybody goes through troubles, and I tell, do journaling, write what's worrying most about the day, and then go back on the end of the week and review. And you're gonna see that worry there, you know, wasn't nothing, like wasn't much, you know, like it's just a small thing on a big scale. That's life.
Exactly. And I always say to people that you know how you can always solve other people's problems, but it's really hard to solve your own problems. But when you write it down on paper, you can look at it and you can rationalize it and you can say, I can solve that because now it doesn't seem like your problem. It's on paper and you can write a solution.
Exactly. I heard a guy talking on an interview or a podcast. I don't remember what it was, but what he mentioned was, think that you are giving yourself a coaching lesson. What would you tell yourself that you need to do to get to the next level, to be better, to feel better, to do better? Yeah. And when he said that, click. Because we all know how to fix other people's other problems, other things, but if we look at ourselves first, it's much easier.
Yeah. Well, I use that. It's almost, I say that to my partner. I say, if I came to you telling you this, what would you tell me? She goes, oh, I would tell you this and this and this. And I go, there you go. Do that.
Love it. Love it. We couldn't have a better conversation to close this one. Better topic. Yeah, awesome.
I love it.
Stephen, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that. I hope that a lot of more business are going to watch this video and start thinking about their well-being and technology and how to implement technology in the business in a safer way as well. And that we can help more people than we're doing, because we're 100%. Here to help, to serve.
Yeah, 100%. And I always say to businesses, like, if you're in doubt or you think, or you're curious, reach out. Like, I am so passionate about this. I would love just businesses to do something for their employees. So if it's just a case of giving some advice or brainstorming some ideas together, reach out. Like, I love doing this. So yeah, hopefully some businesses take action. I love it.
Beautiful. Thanks, man. Have a lovely day, and I talk to you soon.
Thanks for that, Chris. Have a good day.
Beautiful.